It's missing the point. It's a podcast. It's a podcast about sports. It's a podcast about sports they're recording on the 13th of August, which has to be the depths of the sports winter. The worst possible time to be alive as a sports fan, I think, is the exact date. It's today. It's today where the least amount of things are happening. The Olympics are over. The Copa America is over. The European Cup is over. Football season hasn't started yet. Basketball season is a couple months away. Mike, what the hell are we going to talk about? It's okay. We've made a list, everybody. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're going to do what we do best here. I'm DK Sizzle. I'm here with Mike Marcangelo. We're going to do what we do best. We're going to speculate. We're going to make stuff up. But thankfully, we have to pray to the NFL gods because they've made it basically a 12-month sport at this point. There are things to talk about when it comes to the NFL. Hard Knocks is on right now. There's trades happening. There's contract disputes. People are mad. People are tweeting. I think we can squeeze a show out of this. But I have to tell you, listeners, you don't come here because sports are happening outside of it. You come here for our sizzling hot takes. So before we get into the meat of anything, Mike, what have you been doing without sports on? Have you just been like tending your yard? I know you hate your gutters. What's going on there?
Yeah, I fucking hate my gutters. Honestly, I think. Actually, I've been watching more TV in terms of just like older sports documentaries, like reliving like the glory days. Lots of 30 for 30s.
Oh yeah. Any particular favorites? I love the 30 for 30 series.
The one when it was Boston versus LA.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it was is that Donnie Wahlberg and an Ice Cube that they were moderating it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
funny because when the Celtics were on course to winning their championship, which we had a great time here on this podcast, and that was happening. Leah came home from work one day and was like, there's like mascot, it's like Jack Nicholson's like the mascot for the Lakers, and like the Knicks is like Spike Lee, right? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, do the Celtics have one? I was like, yeah, Wahlberg. And she was like, Mark? And I was like, nah, Donnie. For some reason. But you know what? It fits. But yeah, no, I love that.
And also, like, I watched the offseason Hard Knocks for the New York Giants, which I thought
how was that? I didn't catch that one. What I heard, tell me if I'm wrong, is that that's a terribly run organization. That's what you get from that show. Or am I mistaken?
Yeah. Well, it all depends on what you think of Saquon. I think that's when people...
That was the viral clip, right? Where it was like, oh, it's fine. Saquon's going to stay. It's going to be fine. And then no.
Yeah. But, like, that's a compelling show because you get to... I mean, I just was watching and was thinking, like, man, we would have never, like, what would that have looked like for Bill?
Right.
You know, like it would have been like 3-minute episodes. But that,
I think my favorite thing about and I mean, this might be old fart me talking, but I think my favorite thing about now that the Patriots sort of like 20-year dynasty is ended, right? And it was a 20-year dynasty. It was the longest dynasty in the history of sports. It's the most successful team, in my opinion, that I've ever seen. Now that it's done, and I felt this way for a while after moving out of Massachusetts, but now that it's done, now it's a yardstick, you know, like now we can look at it as a comparison point for everything. And people, am I frozen? I'm unfrozen. People use, and I've been doing it for years because like I left Mass, so I wasn't surrounded by all you annoying fucking chuckle fucks. So I could sort of start to do it, but people are doing it now. And I've noticed it. It's like, they're the benchmark, right? So every time you look at something, you go like, I don't know, like how would the 2012 Patriots have handled this? You know what I mean? How would the 2007 Patriots have handled this? And what's cool about that dynasty and that 20-year run is there's basically a comparison point at any point, right? Where it's like there's the team where Brady had Moss and he was throwing 50 touchdowns plus. And, you know, they were just like this electric offense. There was the versions of it where they were this like scrappy underdog and they just like won in the trenches. There was versions of it where they were like the favorites. There was versions of it where they should have won, but they didn't. Like all this crazy stuff happens. And now I can take my team like the Bears, or, you know, if you're a Giants fan watching the Giants, and you can be like, well, let me go check and see if there's any interview footage with like Bill Belichick in a situation like this and see if this is good or not. Right.
Right. Yeah. But just to think, like, yeah, this is now obviously a full year operation, but to get like the access that they did behind the scenes, like it's really compelling because you either think that they're better or worse without Saquon. And if you think they're better, you love Hard Knocks. If you think that they're worse, then you hated it. But
my guess is you would say don't put all your eggs in a running back basket. That's been your go-to rule forever. So you're saying whatever, you're better off. Don't pay him $1 billion. Just try to build your team.
I mean, you've already paid your quarterback $100 million or $60 million, whatever it is, and you don't know. So why not protect him and get him a weapon and see if you need to draft another quarterback?
Yeah,
like
it
that's
simple when you put it like that. If it was so simple, why doesn't everyone just win the Super Bowl?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
All right. Well, since we're talking about Hard Knocks, I mean, we can transition right into that. I love the production quality of the show. It makes me feel, the only other thing, I know this is going to sound strange, but the only other thing that's ever made me feel like I'm walking around in an NFL front office and like existing there is the movie Draft Day. And I've seen that movie like 16,000 times. I love it so much. I bet you're a Costner guy. I know you're not a movie guy, but I bet you're a Costner guy.
Yeah, big Costner guy.
Yeah, I love that guy. But sorry about Horizon, Kevin. I hope you didn't lose your Malibu beach house. But the box office wasn't great. I guess he funded it himself. But I haven't watched it yet, but I plan on it. I think I love I like watching a bad movie just as much as a good movie. That's what you have to understand. It's something to watch to get annoyed is one of my favorite pastimes. But the dream for all of us, and I wish I had have like known this about myself when I was 12 and I could have pursued this, is I just want to be around it. Like I just want to be around it. I don't need to be Caleb Williams. I don't need to be Matt Eberflus. I just want to be like in the building, and like being in the building is great. It's so much fun because part of watching that the Bears one, which we'll go on to talk about, because obviously that's incredibly compelling, even from a neutral perspective, because they have the number 1 overall draft pick in Caleb Williams. The Giants, it's like, well, we'll see, right? We'll see where they go. But with the Bears stuff, it's like, man, like, I really just love being a fly on the wall in a situation like this. Like, I love observing the most minute details. It's like, oh, wow, that's a cool Gatorade fridge. Or like, oh, sweet, the cafeteria is really nice. Like just the players' entrance is really nice. Like they got like a nice like sign up. Like that's really cool. Like it just seems like a really cool place to go to work. I'm like, I would come here every day. This fucking sounds awesome. Living in the greater Chicago area where everyone's nice, like a great city, underrated. Not everyone knows about it yet. Like it just seems like a dream. It's like a fantasy. So you've seen episode 1 of the Bears training camp. I'm obviously uber excited because I just want to see what Caleb Williams is like. I want to see how they're coaching him. I want to see what they're doing. But like you said, I don't actually have a huge comparison point. Like I don't know if they're doing it right or they're not. Almost every scene is basically Eberflus talking to Williams or one of the coaches talking to Williams. There's a couple things over here and there with DJ Moore, whatever. But the Bears seem extremely aware that everybody that works there right now, their jobs hinge on whether this kid becomes a at least above average quarterback compared to expectations. So what did you notice from the first episode as far as him, as far as how they're coaching him? Do you think you had the best quarterback of all time, like you've been a fan of the greatest quarterback ever for as long as you've basically been a conscious human being. Do you think they're doing it right? I'm nervous.
Yeah, I mean, I think based on now the footage that we see is probably not.
Of course,
they're never going to air unflattering footage.
Of course,
but based on what we've seen, my big critique of him last year when we were talking about him, I said how is he going to handle adversity, and can he gain respect in the locker room? And it seems like those two things, based on one episode, have been checked off. Like he's going to have to work hard. He knows that he doesn't know everything with the playbooks. But like when you see, I think one of the most compelling parts about it was when they were showing all the backup quarterbacks and him. He knew all the reads, all the checks, and they were still struggling to figure that out. It's like, okay, well, one of you's already been in the league for 4 years, so maybe you should probably be a little bit further along in your development in terms of reading a playbook. Caleb looks great, but the biggest thing I noticed, man, and I'm sorry to drag the Patriots into it already, but
that's been my whole point. Is the idea that they're the sort of beacon to compare against, because if we can achieve, and the old adage, if I could achieve half, if I could achieve a sixth, 1/6 of what the Patriots achieved in those 20 years, I'm good. So. That's, it's not dragging the Patriots in. And I'm sorry if listeners are sick of hearing about the Patriots. So this is a New England based podcast. I want to hear it. I want to know what the comparisons are.
Well, but this might upset you because it's not the Patriots of old.
Shit, never mind then. Don't say it.
It's like when you see what Chicago did to build an offense around their rookie top 5 quarterback. And you see, oh, well, they got DeAndre Swift. They got Keenan Allen. They got Roma Dunze. They secured DJ Moore. They built up the offensive line a little bit, but the
offensive line still fucking stinks. It stinks.
DK, we drafted Drake May 3rd overall.
I know. It's not any different. The situation Drake May's coming into is not any different at all than the situation that what's his knuckles was in. The backup somewhere else, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Mac. It's just it's. I mean, you don't have any top 10 wide receivers yet. Now, who knows what their draft picks can turn out to be? But as it's currently constituted, you have one organization that saw what they were going to draft and then decided to build around them for now, and another organization that didn't do that. And in today's fucking joint practice with the Eagles, he on his last 9 dropbacks, he was sacked 6 times through 2 incompletions and then a pick. You can't stop anybody. Like their offensive line in just practice, DK, the Patriots they let 13 sacks and 43 dropbacks.
Yeah, it's tough. I will say this. Is he your starter?
No.
That's a huge advantage. I really do believe that that the big hurdle that Caleb Williams has to get over is that he has to be Peyton Manning in his first season as opposed to Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? Well,
he just has to be better.
Peyton Manning threw 30 interceptions in his first season. It's about going in and saying, yeah, you're the starter, but this is a year where you get to just learn. Yes, we put a bunch of guys around you, but this is a year where you get to just learn, tune everything out. You can be Peyton Manning in your first season. You can throw a shitload of interceptions. Just show us some sparks. The really scary part to me is it's just so true that you have I don't know what the exact numbers would be, like talking to a stats guy, but if I could just throw one out there, the percentage chance of you being a fully fledged NFL quarterback, I would imagine increases by 75% if you get to sit for your first year, just especially in today's NFL. I don't think Jordan Love is the quarterback that he is now, or at least how everybody sees him going into this season. And I do think he's going to be good if he doesn't sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a period of time. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback that he is if he doesn't sit behind Brett Favre for a period of time. I don't think Patrick Mahomes sitting behind Alex Smith. And I'm not even talking about sitting behind Aaron Rodgers and learning from Aaron Rodgers. I'm talking about just being in the NFL for a year. You know what I mean? Because sitting behind Alex Smith, it being specifically Alex Smith, did I bet fuck all for Patrick Mahomes. But just sitting. I think Patrick Mahomes would still have become Patrick Mahomes? Of course. Do I think that he would be able to take a weaponless fucking basically nothing Kansas City team against a fully peaking and finally healthy San Francisco team and win a Super Bowl? I don't think so. I just don't. I think he would win some Super Bowls. I think he'd be a great QB, but I just think a little acclimation is such a big part of it. And I think you're doing that with Drake May. So yeah, you don't have an offensive line now, but he's also not, he's also receivers. Or receivers, but he's also not, you're not going to Mac Jones him, right? You're not going to put him out there and get him killed, right? I mean, look at Mac Jones. He had a good rookie year, and then he fell off the face of the earth. And I just wonder if he was able to translate that rookie year into if that was his sophomore year, right?
Well, remember what happened though. There were extenuating circumstances here. He went from Josh McDaniels to Matt Patricia.
No, I understand. I think that Josh McDaniels, there's been a lot of Josh McDaniels slander on this show. I think he's a good offensive coordinator. I think he's a bad head coach. Yeah. I think we're agreed on that. But I think, and I think there's a lot of people like that, and I don't really see the problem. If like that, I think it's a different job completely. But it's important, I think, to remember that the thing that's going to tank Caleb, and I think this is my overall point, the thing that's going to tank Caleb is the weight of expectation. And the fact that he has to play right away, he has to. He just does. It's just, you can just see it. All the circumstances align. He just does. He's the number 1 overall pick. He is apparently a generational talent. He has a lot of critics. He has weapons, like you said. He has a good defense. The Bears are in a position where, at this point, where and I know I'm a homer, but we're 4 guys away from challenging if Caleb's good. And obviously that's, it's a big if, but the comparison I think ends there, because with the Patriots, it's like you're rebuilding. You're from day one here. What we're trying to do is we're trying to plug a guy in the most important position in a team that's almost there. I'd say we're 75% of the way there from being built, right? I mean, I was excited about the season, the past 2 seasons, because of some of the additions that we've made. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it worries me. And obviously it's because it's my team, but it's because Caleb's a fucking, it's the weight. He has to be a mental giant to overcome this. He just does. And I just don't know if he is. And I'm not saying he isn't. I just don't know if he is.
What you should take solace in is that, so I'm going to give the bad and the good. So the bad is that more often than not, people like Caleb Williams have to start their first year because of the regime that drafted them is on their last leg. Like, so they need to prove something, right? So their time's running out.
That's a little true of us. It's a little.
Yeah, it's almost there. However, very few times in like the modern NFL have you seen a number 1 overall pick like Caleb Williams be taken, and then the additions being made to really make it as easy as possible. Like, you think about the team that Peyton Manning went on to. Yeah, they had Marshall Faulk, but I don't think Marvin Harrison was there yet. And then they built around him after. I mean, Joe Burrow, his first year in Cincinnati, they had to start him, but he didn't have Jamar Chase. So he was a shell of himself. He got hurt. I would say that the Bears made the best of a bad situation by knowing that they had to start him now. So they said, if we're going to do it, fuck it. We're going to make sure that on offense, he's going to be protected. Like, he has, if the offensive line can't hold it, to
be honest with you, I just don't know if we.
Well, I meant from the sense of if the line can't hold, he has a easy short option with DeAndre Swift. He's gonna be right there. He's gonna be best friends with Cole Kmet, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then if he can have time, now you have 3 fucking burners as wide receivers that.
Well, you know what I think? I think that the wide receiver thing on that point, I think that they're 3. I don't know exactly what kind of NFL wide receiver Rome Odunze is, but with those 3 guys, I mean, I think he's going to be really good. I think with those 3 guys, what they are is if it's catchable, it's getting caught, guys. With Keenan Allen, with DJ Moore, and with Rome Odunze. I think if it's catchable, it's getting caught. If you're giving him an Aguilar, if you're giving him if you do you know what I mean though? It's like if you're giving him guys that are streaky, they have great years, they have bad years. I mean, I just read an article right before we jumped on here. I was just waiting for the Zoom to start about Lamar and Aguilar getting into a fucking argument in training camp. Apparently it was a big bust up because Aguilar dropped like 3 wide open passes, and he had a great year last year for Aguilar standards. And you're like, yeah, that guy's so hit or miss. Like, he's probably due for a bad season. He's probably going to come here and Aguilar all over everything in Baltimore. And you can't give a rookie QB a guy like that, right? You need short hands. And also, as much as I'll catch it if it's catchable guys, they're 3 different wide receivers, right? You'll have Cole Kmet and Keenan Allen just eating up prime real estate in the middle, right? And if you're going to be the kind of quarterback, like if you're going to be a Tom Brady where you're so good at reading the cover 2. A linebacker cannot do anything to you if it, like, eyes wise at all. If you're in the pocket, it like you force safeties to come in and then you can beat them deep. If you're Tom Brady like that, great. you got Keenan Allen, you got Cole Kmet. Like, our tight end room's great. Mercedes Lewis is 9,000 years old, but like he can still catch a ball. That's all good news. If you see a dude streaking down the sidelines because DJ Moore is just completely fucking beating him because he's just like put a shimmy and a shake on him, great. If Rome Odunze just like doing an out route and you're that guy and he's just in the end zone, you can hit him in the corner, amazing. Like, let's figure out what kind of throws Caleb can make because all the guys there can catch the throws, right? Like, that's a great thing that they did. I agree with you there.
I don't think it's so much as can he make the throws, because I think physically he's got it, right? I think,
of course, yeah.
You should be so happy already just based off of what you saw in Hard Knocks in that preseason game.
Dude, the zip on his pass is like, I don't want to say anything. Like, I honestly told myself I wasn't even going to have this conversation when we came in here because I don't want to jinx
Here we are.
But goddamn, like, Justin Fields, like, I really liked him. I really liked him as a player. I thought he was really exciting. The play almost had to break down for him to do something like successful. Caleb looked as good with the play going how it was supposed to go as he did when the play broke down. Like the little shovel pass was so Mahomesy. I can't believe I said it. It was so Mahomesy.
Yeah, I won't. I'm not gonna. I'm going to do that. But I won't hold that against you either. But the one thing that you should be like really happy about is that he looks decisive, and that's the one thing Justin Fields couldn't do. Had he never been able to make a read and instantly identify that wasn't the right one, I'm going to go with number 2. You wouldn't have drafted Caleb Williams.
That's what they were always saying about him. That's what they've always said about Caleb Williams is his speed of thought. Like that was always like the thing that they were talking about. Obviously, the athletic ability is there. The scrambling thing is funny because obviously I'm on like the Reddits, the forums with the other Bears fans, and the way that Justin Fields scrambled, like, I mean, he's one of the best open field runners I've ever seen. Like he's unbelievable. I don't think that that's necessary quality for a quarterback. Like it's just you just don't need it. There was one move where the pocket collapsed behind him. He stepped up in the pocket. He stepped up at Caleb, I'm talking about. He stepped up at an angle, and then he ran into another angle and slid. Bad slide. The slip and slide training did not help. He needs to learn how to slide a little bit better. That whole part of the Hard Knocks was cringy as fuck. I thought like they're like we're gonna get a slip and slide, and then and it's like you guys are bad on the slip and slide. Just for the record, like none of you know how to slide. I didn't play baseball. I was a soccer player. I know how to fucking slide. It's one of the early things that you like learn how to do. My wife was also a soccer player at a much higher level than me. She was also a defender, and she was watching that part of the episode, being like, "Dear God." Like these guys are all going to tear their fucking T-bands trying to fucking slide like this. And Caleb's slide in that moment was terrible, but that's Aaron Rodgers-y, to get 10 yards because everyone is so focused on the coverage and you can just take that 10 yards. And trust me, I know I watched him fucking dominate my team twice a year for the last fucking 15 years. That's what you need from your quarterback in the scrambling situation. You don't need him to be Justin Fields. You don't need him to run 50 yards. You just don't. It's not his job. In fact, it's fucking terrifying half the time because you're like, Jesus fucking Christ. Because he's out in the middle of the fucking field with a bunch of murderers. It's like the pocket is where you're safe, I mean, even Tom Brady had some funny scrambles over the course of his career, but
against Urlacher is the one that comes to mind.
I think Brian Urlacher was trying not to take the life of the greatest quarterback of all time, and I think Tom Brady took advantage of that. And I'll die thinking that Brian was being nice and he shouldn't have been. But I think overall, what you're trying to tell me is that I should be positive. I'm in basically the best situation I've ever been in the Bears fan.
If you can't muster that up, which although it looks like you can, I'll just say this: you have no reason to feel negative.
Yeah, no, totally. If I was being overtly negative right now, I'd be just being a fucking like a spoil sport, right? Like it's like if I was ever going to be happy, now's the time. I do think that there's just factually football reasons to be excited about Caleb Williams, and I think when I got excited about Justin Fields, I had to sort of be abstract about it, if that makes sense. It's right. The difference in just arm talent is night and day, unfortunately. And that's me saying that, knowing that like Justin Fields is probably going to be starting week 6 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that, I think of
your
very
second favorite. Yeah.
But my second favorite, but it's not the same.
Yeah. It's your second case. Yeah, no, I get it.
I wouldn't even go that far.
What I would say as far as Justin Fields though, right, is like when you were trust me too. I remember.
No, you love Justin Fields. I mean, you're the exact right guy to be talking to about it.
You saw that the Bears drafted him. You're like, he's going to change the Bears offense.
He did.
But Caleb doesn't need to do that. He just needs to run it. And if he does run it, that team has the potential to do what we said last year and win 11 games.
11 games. That would be. I mean, we'll save that exact call for our.
We're the AFC this year, so we won't.
Are we?
Yeah, we were. Yeah, because we were Team NFC last year.
Okay, great. Yeah, 11 games would be great. I mean, 10 would be great. I mean, if we're already in the playoffs, like that would be fucking crazy. To me, what I want to see is I just want to see where the glaring holes are, because we're in a position where this offseason we're going to spend a majority of our cap shoring up deals. I hope we get a 2-year extension for Keenan Allen. 3 is probably more likely. The third year we might be carrying cap for a guy that isn't the same, but fine. He's on a lot of money, Keenan Allen. Like he's going to demand some contract space. Caleb's contract, with the way the CBA is now with rookie QBs, is kind of crazy. Like, I mean, it's nice. You want to you want to take advantage of a rookie contract for a QB, of course. But in a few years, he's going to be on 100 million if he fucking pans out. So it's like,
Yep.
I mean, there was a part of that Hard Knocks episode where he's like, my signing bonus is 25.5. I'm like, dude, you're done. Like, this is the other thing. It's like, this is why I would never, and it's not, I mean, obviously, besides the fact that I cannot throw a ball or move the same way Caleb Williams can, but I'd be done. 25.5, you could not get me out of bed. Like, if that was guaranteed money, I would show up to work sometimes. Like, there's no way. So,
Yeah.
you know, like that 25.5 million fucking signing bonus. Like when he said that, I just felt like such an old man. Like I was like 25, because I remember like really caring about NFL contracts when I was 15, you know, like really being like knowing what the wage structures were and like doing my Madden franchise. And like, you know, you kind of get away from that. And then he says in that scene, he's 25.5 million. I'm like, as a rookie signing bonus? I'm like, that's fucking crazy, dude. You're done. Your grandkids are set, bro. Buy Bitcoin. Right. Like, Jesus.
So and I mean, he probably made like 15 million last year in NIL. So
yeah,
it's not
NIL
like earth shattering.
So crazy now. I mean, like, not create the fact that they exist is crazy all of a sudden. But like the fact is, like, that dude's already generationally wealthy. Like, he's already a fucking millionaire, dude. Like, he doesn't even need to succeed in the NFL. He just doesn't.
Nope.
He's already done his job. So, like, now it's about, like, do you want greatness, I guess, is the question.
You just don't want him to be Dak.
I know. He's not. He's already better than Dak, though. Like, let's be honest. Like, he's already fucking better than Dak. Like, if you're doing QB rankings right now, would Caleb Williams not be ahead of Dak? I mean, he's literally
but that's because we know what Dak is. We don't know what Caleb is.
Right.
So yeah, sure.
I would pick Caleb. I know I don't want to make you think about the entirety of the NFL like QB roster, but like 10, 15.
I was gonna say 15.
15. I think that's fair. Because like, when's the last time we had this amount of hype for a QB? And even our best QB right now wasn't hyped. He wasn't hyped. It's been a long time, like a long time since the number 1 overall pick came in and like met expectations. Like Peyton Manning?
No.
Andrew Luck, but like Andrew Luck didn't win shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but he was good. I don't think he also never had I don't think he ever had a losing season, did he?
Like, I don't think so. And I also think that I mean, this is controversial, and you know, we could get a lot of Colts fans in here mad, but like 2006, like, fuck you. So I don't think the Colts did right by him at all. Personally.
Of course they did.
You agree? Because like a lot of people, like, I mean, I think this is a controversial topic now, or am I thinking?
No, that's why he retired, because they couldn't protect him. He literally refused to take another hit and drop back.
Did he say that, or is that just like the presiding theory?
That is he's never on the record said it, but all of his people have said it to other people.
I don't fucking blame him, to be honest with you. I mean, like with when he came into the league and what we were learning about CTE, and with like, you know, the Terry Bradshaw like can barely get out of bed, dude. You know what I mean? Like the guy's been in chronic pain since like 1984. You know, it's like it's not an easy sport. You know, you ever read North Dallas 40? You ever read that book?
No.
Oh, you got to read that book. I don't know how much of a reader you are, but North Dallas 40 is a fucking
big reader.
Read. It's a hell of a read. It's from the perspective of a former wide receiver, and it's football in the 70s, and it's crazy. You got to read it. I'll send you a link after this. And they made a movie with Nick Nolte, which is okay, but the book is unbelievable. I read it when I was like 12. It was one of the things that like really got me into football, and I just think like if you have like we were talking about with Caleb, it's like if you have $30 million. Why are you putting your brain on the line? It's like, it's why like everyone's like, oh, Conor McGregor is gonna fight. I'm like, Conor McGregor's never fucking fighting again, guys. Like he's got $200 million in the bank. Why would he lock himself in a cage with a psycho? I don't understand. Like it's done, you know? But yeah, I mean, I do feel positive. I feel positive because everything's theoretical right now. I feel positive because I'm leaning towards trusting Ryan Poles as a GM. The decisions he's made, I think, are good ones. I think it's already true that we've historically fleeced the Panthers with everything that's going on. No matter what, that trade's just only going to look worse and worse for them as time goes on. But otherwise, like, yeah, it's all optimism, you know, and like nothing's set in stone yet. I would just implore Bears fans and people watching Hard Knocks and stuff like that to just temper expectations. It's a rookie QB. Regardless of what you see and what you think, it's a rookie QB. I can't think of a rookie QB. What's the best rookie year from QB ever? Is it fucking CJ Stroud?
It's Andrew Luck.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess so.
It has to be.
Yeah. And it's, it's this thing of like, I mean, at least in our memory, right? In modern times. But
Yeah.
I mean, if he was 75% of that, I'd be happy. So I don't want everyone to think they're going to get Tom Brady circa 2011.
But
Like
he
right
has, I love to overindulge you here, so I'll do it. Think about the situation that Andrew Luck walked into to still have the year that he did. Caleb Williams' offensive situation is 10 times better.
No, it's true.
So like you should
But does
take
that weight
solace in
the
the fact.
expectations on the other side though? Is that then it's like now he's apt he's
No, he
he's
has
open
he
to
has
more
to
criticism now?
No, I don't think so. I think that's why I have so much respect and admiration for what the Bears have done this offseason is they made it really easy. It's like, Caleb, all you have to do this year is not lose games.
Right.
Like, not be the reason that you lose. I don't need you to win anything. You don't need to. Just run an offense. And if he does that, again, I think people are going to be really surprised. And I think that you're going to have your first 4,000-yard passer in his rookie season.
Yeah, I know our passing numbers are embarrassing. We need to start setting some records. I did just have like a little bit of a trauma flashback when you said the not lose games thing, because I spent the entirety of the 2006 season being like, Rex, you just have to not lose the game. And he found a way. He always found a way. I used to do this impression of Rex Grossman, like seeing the read over the top and then just like looking to the sky. Like he had just seen God come down and just throwing a ludicrous bomb. Like,
yeah, well,
that guy killed me. But yeah, I mean, look, I think we've learned a lot of lessons since then, hopefully. Keeping in the football space, another episode of Hard Knocks tonight. I'm sure we can talk about it next week or whatever. It's been fun for me. I really enjoyed episode 1. And again, I'm living in this kind of theoretical, hypothetical space now, which is a great place to be because as long as I stay positive, everything's great. Right?
That's right.
It's when the actual season kicks off that we might be having some trouble. But keeping it in the football space, you and I have been, and the rest of the guys have been chatting a lot about this Brandon Aiyuk trade. I was surprised because I read a few messages from you guys and I gathered that it was all but done to New England. So I didn't look at I really
hated your fucking message. You're like, oh wait, you guys didn't get him?
That wasn't me being a dick. I genuinely thought that he was. I thought it was done the way that it was being discussed. Like I've been trying to wean myself off social media, so I don't have Instagram anymore. I don't have TikTok anymore. I don't have Twitter anymore. So I'm actually like the old man of the group now. I kind of get my information from you guys. So, I'll check the Discord chat in the morning and, I really just thought that Aiyuk to New England was done. And I guess I'll just shut up and let you explain exactly what happened because I'm still sort of in the dark. Is it that they just didn't have a contract structure in place or what?
So they got the deal worked out with San Francisco. The 49ers were all on board.
They basically accepted every trade. They're like, yeah.
Well, besides Pittsburgh, until just recently, like we're hearing now. But essentially, what it came down to was I'm hearing like the AAV was like $31 million a year.
Which we'll come back to talk about as far as if that is an appropriate number, yeah.
But the guarantees weren't that. They were off. Okay. So the Patriots find themselves in a situation where because of how badly they have performed over the last 4 years, people aren't going to take less or even the actual market value to come here. You're going to have to overpay.
Which is a situation that you got used to, right? Like people came to New England for 20% less than they would
Randy
normally
Moss
get.
for a fucking 4th-round pick. You paid him like $5 million a year. I mean,
and why was that? Because the best player on the team was taking less money every year, right? Yep. So I mean, that was a sweet situation to be in.
Yeah, and now you have to make a decision. Are you're gonna have to overpay? And what I said in the Discord was, are you sure that you want to overpay him? Because if you don't think that T. Higgins is worth $32 million a year, then I would argue that Brandon Aiyuk isn't either. Like that's the comp, right?
I think T. Higgins is a good comp. I think that the reason why it was basically you and Ray going back and forth, which that's nothing fucking new. But I was a little bit, and I don't choose sides based on identity politics in those situations. I was just sort of weighing in based on what I thought about the wide receiver. I think Brandon Aiyuk. Personally, I'd rather have him on my fantasy team in the last 4 years than T. Higgins. Maybe the numbers dispute that. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But that's just based on first gut feeling. That's who I'd probably prefer.
Yeah.
I think that the way that San Francisco offense is run, it gives guys like Aiyuk a platform to excel. I think that's equally true of T. Higgins in the Bengals offensive setup when Burrow is healthy and they've been playing at their best, right? Last year being sort of an exception. He was off from the jump, though. When Ray did the Amon-Ra St. Brown comparison, I'm less inclined to say that that's a good comp because I think Amon-Ra is still borderline underrated. I really do think that he might be top
And
7.
he's their number one receiver.
Right.
Like,
and even though he's in the
isn't-
slot, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's, it's a
Right.
Patriots situation. Yeah, your number one wide receiver is a slot guy, but it's still your number one wide receiver. So the best cornerback on the other team, nine times out of 10, unless they can't defend the slot, unless they're, I don't know, like a big borderline safety zone corner, like which
Richard
I know.
Sherman.
Yeah, exactly. I know a couple of teams still do that. You're usually going to put your corner on him, so it doesn't matter that he's in the slot, right? It's just you're getting paid RW or WR1 money. So I agree with you there. I think T. Higgins is the best comparison, but I will also say, and we didn't get a chance to go into this in the Discord, but I guess this is why we do a podcast. Brandon Aiyuk doesn't have a comparison. It's such a strange guy to try to comp to the rest of the league because he had Deebo Samuel running in front of him. Yes, that comp of T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, I totally understand why you're doing that. But the way that offense is run, I can see T. Higgins plugging into almost any other team and performing basically the same way. Yes, if they put a number one corner on him, maybe some of his numbers will go down, but I still think that he's kind of that guy, right? Like he's kind of that dude. If he has a competent corner thrown to him, I think he's going to be the dude. Aiyuk, the way that San Francisco offense was set up, it's like just so much green in front of you every time you touch the ball. You know what I mean? Every guy just had so much green in front of him every time they touch the ball. There's a chance, I don't think this is the case, but there's a chance that he's not the same guy anywhere else, right? So
only 2 spots he'd be the same guy.
Wait, let me guess.
Good.
Let me guess what you're going to say. Baltimore?
Floor is yours. Nope.
2 spots where he'd be the same guy. That kind of offense. Well, Kansas City, obviously.
Yep.
And I don't know. What's the other one?
Miami.
Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Well, but for different reasons, right? Because
because you're not subbing out Tyreek Hill in Miami, but if you sub out Jalen Waddle, and now you have Tyreek
like the same
Hill
offense,
and Brandon Aiyuk.
Yeah,
it's the exact same offense.
Yeah. No, you're right. T. Higgins is a little bit of a different story though in that case, right? Because you could plug T. Higgins in Dallas, and I think he would probably get the same kind of numbers that he gets in Cincinnati. You could plug T. Higgins in I don't know, Chicago. There's a lot of situations T. Higgins could walk into that are similar to the one that he's in now. I don't think that's true of Aiyuk. Like if he goes to Pittsburgh, he's their one. You know what I mean? Like he's their guy. So yes, I think Pittsburgh is a good situation for him because he has, potentially a decent quarterback throwing to him. I think that they treat wide receivers really well there. I think wide receivers play better in Pittsburgh than they play a lot of other places. I mean, look at Claypool, look at Juju, look at what I guarantee you is going to happen with Johnson this year. He is not going to look the same as he did in Pittsburgh. I guarantee it. These are things that you can see play out for guys like this, but yeah, I mean, after talking it through, yes, it's the comp that makes the most sense. But overall, I think what you're saying is that guy worth 34 a year? And I just don't think he is. I just don't think he is. I think he's worth 34 a year if you have 34 and the last piece you need is a wide receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, like I would say if you have...
What the fuck is Brandon Aiyuk going to do in New England right now? I'm not being a dick. I'm not shitting on your team. But what is he going to do in New England right now?
Well, the theory there is that he would make... you would bring him into New England just to make sure that your rookies or when Kendrick Bourne comes back is actually open, and you don't want Kendrick Bourne running against ones because he's not number one, and right now he's going to be your number one. That's the same thing that's going to happen in Pittsburgh. In reality, like George Pickens is now going to be so much better because Aiyuk's going to garner the number ones. So your team's going to be lifted. Is Pickens good? Yeah, he's good. If Mike Tomlin drafted him, then yes, I believe that. In the skill position, yeah, he's good.
Is Juju good?
Yes.
You released him.
Yes. well, yeah. 8 years later, no. But I mean, he was good in Kansas City, and obviously he had Patrick Mahomes, but he was really good in Pittsburgh too, and he didn't always have Ben Roethlisberger.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I think they do draft really good skill positions there. It's just like it to me, watching the Steelers as closely as I have for the last couple of years, they can't seem to find a way. And this might be a quarterback issue, and no, it is a quarterback issue, but they can't seem to find a way to include him in the offense enough. And what you're saying is, if Aiyuk goes in there, then Pickens becomes that wide receiver 2 they thought he was going to be over the last 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, because then 3 years from now, you're going to be talking about Pickens like we are you. Like, oh, he's putting up 75 catches for 1,200 yards and 5 touchdowns. Is he worth 34 million a year?
Yeah,
Still no.
But are you though? Because you need you need either a perfect system like you have in Miami or San Francisco, or you need a great quarterback. And I think that the Steelers' offensive system is one of the worst of the last 3 seasons. So it's tough, right? I mean,
it's like I have far more respect for a guy like CeeDee Lamb as opposed to like a guy like Brady.
Yeah, it's a hard job to be. It's tough to be CeeDee Lamb right now. I agree.
I don't know. I don't know either of them personally, right? But if you just look at just on the basis points of everybody knows that the ball's going to CD and he still catches it and he's still open. That's harder than what Aiyuk has had to do or what Higgins has had to do so far.
Yeah, but the guy that you're talking about, the CeeDee Lamb type, the Calvin Johnson type, the Justin Jefferson, the Randy Moss, the true wide receiver 1. It doesn't matter what coverage you put on him. He's coming down with the ball. He's going to moss you, blah, blah, blah. There's like 5 of those guys every 20 years. Like, you know what I mean? So it's the problem is my point is getting suckered into thinking that a wide receiver 2 or a slot guy, and I think this was Ray's point a little bit too, is able to do that. And I just don't know how true that is of Brandon Aiyuk. And it's not to say it won't be. I just think I'm almost agreeing with you, right? Like, I just think if I'm in New England, it's like build your trenches, like bring in a guy, like a really seasoned, experienced veteran QB to help keep your QB room morale high and see what you can do with Drake May, and then go and look for his Stephon Diggs. Go and try to find his Stephon Diggs in the next 3 years. But you have to be right. You have to be right. And you need an offensive line before you get that guy, in my opinion. I mean, maybe I'm just an old fart, but I just think you need an offensive line, a decent to above average tight end, and a defense. I know. It sounds glib, but it's like, you don't want to put Drake May in his second year, and then like every time, look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was running for his fucking life in that first Super Bowl that he got.
But he's also the aberration, right? Is they chose to get a wide receiver over. They
still haven't put an offensive line in front of him, and he has a weird injury that he may never come back from. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
It's weird there in Cincinnati.
He's been injured 2 out of his 4 seasons. The other 2, it was the AFC title game and the Super Bowl.
Sure. But he lost the AFC title game in the Super Bowl because nobody was guarding him. Nobody was helping. Nobody was protecting him. Like, I've never seen a quarterback run for their life like Joe Burrow ran for his life in that Super Bowl, because that was obviously the perfect storm of the fucking best defensive line in football at the time and the worst offensive line in football at the time.
Not to go down a rabbit hole, but literally the year before, Tampa Bay made Patrick Mahomes run 145 yards that game behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and they lost. Yeah, you're right. But that was because Tom Brady, though. You know what I mean? Like, the narrative's never going to be that Mahomes was running for his life. Like, in that, and he was. I agree. But also, I don't know. Mahomes is like built like that. You know what I mean? Like, Joe Burrow, he needs pocket protection. I mean, I know he can operate outside the pocket. He's a great QB. I'm not taking anything away from him, but you want Joe Burrow to eventually turn into Drew Brees. You don't want Joe Burrow to turn into fucking Patrick Mahomes. That's not the kind of QB you want him to be. You want Joe Burrow to be throwing for, 400 yards a game from the pocket, in my opinion.
Yep.
Mahomes, you can't even bring him up in these kind of conversations because, like, he basically can just do it with whatever ingredients you give him, apparently. We've learned that now. Like, he's like Brady. It's like, I don't know, I'll figure it out. He's just one of those guys.
Just give him one weapon, just one. Whether it's
I genuinely think that last season was the worst receiving core that I've seen a great quarterback have and still win a Super Bowl. Like, because a lot of the time they'll just blame the receivers. Like, they'll just be like, "Well, I didn't have any weapons. I don't know what you want me to do." You think Brady 2019?
Well, no, because you still had Gronk Edelman then.
Yeah, but they were fucking old. Gronk was limping through the middle of the fucking field by that point. He looked like he was going to fall apart. Didn't he get injured before the Super Bowl?
No, that was 2011.
Oh, 2011. Okay.
Yeah. I think you might be right though. I mean, if not the worst, then it's pretty close.
I mean, I'm not saying that we should be saying Brock Purdy should be compared to Patrick Mahomes, but like, if you gave Patrick Mahomes Brock Purdy's receivers in last year's Super Bowl, it would have been 90-3.
They also might have gone 17-0.
Yeah, like that's the thing. So it's like it's crazy, but true. And also, it's like we all kind of knew, right? Like we spent all last season being like, I don't know. I think Mahomes might just be the best guy, so he's probably going to win the Super Bowl. Like we spent all last season basically saying that. Yeah, but you know,
Bobby 3 years in a row actually said this is it.
I mean, Craig said that Patrick Mahomes wouldn't be in the league for the last 3 years. So, you know, people say
no, this is his last year, DK.
Oh, this is his last year.
This is it.
This is Craig's last. Well, what if he's right? Like, imagine like he's getting fucking spinal injury this year. And it was like, holy shit, fucking Craig called it. How'd you know? I mean, that was, you know, the fledgling days of our podcast. We said a lot of things. But yeah, I mean, look, on that note, just thinking about the NFL as a whole, we'll do our big preview. We'll do our game record predictor. Any big standout moves that you think have really changed the stars of a team? I don't look forward to talking about the Dallas Cowboys this season. Like, dear God, they look like a tax write-off at this point. Like, good God. Zeke? Is there a backfield? Is this? I mean, I know he's not on that same contract anymore, but Jesus Christ, dude. I mean, that they genuinely look like Jerry Jones is trying to do tax write-offs. That's what they look like to me. They look like they're packing it in. They're not going to try to win with this core. It's not going to happen. Maybe their defense they try to keep together, but like they need to revamp the offense. I don't think that the Chiefs have done enough. I mean, I still think that they should be putting more around Mahomes. The Bengals are a wild card still because they, you know, you don't know what's going to happen with Burrow. Like, what's he going to look like? His injury was weird. The Bills, he lost Diggs. He replaced him comparably, but not Stephon Diggs. I mean, this
but
is
Keon Coleman could be awesome.
Yeah, sure. I'm still believe it when I see it with Josh Allen personally. I mean, I've always found him exciting and fun to watch. I like having him as my fantasy quarterback for obvious reasons. But as far as like a winner goes, I don't know. In the AFC, that's tough. I wouldn't want to beat Josh Allen in the AFC right now.
The AFC though, in terms of like big moves, it's Houston. It's Houston.
I mean, Houston looks so good. Like, I was just about to say that. Like, the fact that CJ Stroud has Stephon Diggs, it doesn't look like, and again, preseason, obviously, you know, whatever, preseason, it doesn't look like he's going to take a huge step back in his sophomore year. Nope. CJ Stroud, it looks like he's going to be pretty good. I'm real worried.
Oh, you don't have a running game? Here's Joe Mixon.
Yeah,
like, everyone forgets about that.
I know. I mean, they overperformed so hard with one of the worst rosters like I've ever seen, or like 1 to 53. And now I'd say above average their roster in key positions, like the way that they made moves. I love their coach, CJ Stroud. I mean, maybe he gets a sophomore slump, but even then, it's like they're set up. They're set up to win. The Houston Texans are the most bipolar fucking NFL franchise I've ever seen. They're either swinging high or swinging low. You know, like we spent 3 years being like, can you believe that like 1 year ago they were like up on the Kansas City Chiefs by 17 points and now look how low they've fallen. And then it was like, we'll draft like a Hail Mary quarterback and like get a coach that no one has no pedigree whatsoever as a head coach, at least. I don't mean to, you know, I don't mean to at all disparage the man's career in football. It is a long and illustrious one up until this point, but shit, man, the fucking Houston Texans. I mean, I agree. They're the absolute sleeper of this year. Like if you haven't been paying attention to the offseason, you might be surprised to learn.
If you just look at like their skill positions, right? It's obviously CJ Stroud, then it's Joe Mixon, then it's Stephon Diggs, then it's Nico Collins and Tank Dell, who they lost in the last game.
And they were still playing well.
That's
Tank Dell's gonna have a 1,200-yard season, dude. I mean, you're talking about the T. Higgins role or the Brandon Aiyuk role. I mean, that's fucking Tank Dell is just feasting this year.
It's like he was playing against twos last year, and now he's going to be on your third best corner.
I know.
Oh God, like it's going to be so good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to them. I'm looking forward to the Texans. I'm not looking forward to the Packers, but that's because I hate them and I think they're going to be good. Jordan Love looks really, he looks really good.
Yeah, I tried to tell you that last year, and you basically told me to fuck off. But I said it looks like they did it again.
What a fucking division I'm in. Jesus Christ, dude. Even the Lions are good now.
But the Vikings will suck. Don't worry.
Well, I did have on the list talking about JJ McCarthy. I mean, I think that was an absurd draft pick.
So stupid.
Like an insane draft pick. That's so like, well, Michigan won and it's like, dude, he's just not an NFL QB. Like he just isn't. I mean, and even if I'm wrong, we won't know for at least 8 weeks because the man's having knee surgery. I mean, I'm not wishing injury on anybody, and you know, I want him to do well. I want everyone to do well. I want everyone to get along. I want everyone to be rich and happy. I'm a communist at heart, but when it comes to this, this JJ McCarthy pick, like, fuck, the Vikings got their own way, man.
The Michael Penix pick to the Falcons made more sense than the JJ McCarthy.
I didn't hate that as much as everybody else. I genuinely didn't hate that as much as everybody else. To me, it's they thought he was the best player on the board. That's what they thought.
Sure.
And I think you can draft the best player on the board and just figure it out later. I think Bill Belichick did that for 15 years. So it's like,
well, that's because he had Tom Brady. But you don't typically do that literally 3 weeks after you pay an injured Kirk Cousins $200 million, and then you
was weird.
And then
that
you
was
draft
the weird part.
A quarterback that has torn the same ACL.
No,
in the last 4 years.
I agree. I think that Penix is a gamble. I think that the reason he was at the draft position he was at was a gamble. I think that the Falcons were in a position to gamble on a guy like that. The weird part was fucking paying Kirk Cousins. Like, that was the strange thing. Like, everyone's like, oh, it's so weird they drafted Penix. I'm like, I don't think so. I think it's weird that they paid Kirk Cousins in the fucking first place, if they were going to do something like that. But to me, it's like, I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, Kirk Cousins got what I would deem the Flacco deal, right? Like, we just
without winning a Super Bowl?
Without actually winning a Super Bowl, yeah. I mean, like, look, Kirk Cousins is a controversial topic on this podcast. I have never thought that he was anywhere above average as a QB. I think that I mean, you can throw his regular season numbers at me all you want. He's won one playoff game in his whole career. You don't pay that guy $200 million. Like, I'm sorry. Like, he's won one playoff game. He had the best wide receiver in football the last 3 years. Like, I can't. Like, I can't fathom paying Kirk Cousins that money. The draft pick, that seemed like they were coming to their senses. To be totally honest with you, it's like
after they already gave.
I know.
Right. I know. But like, again, on paper, we're talking about on paper. If you just look at, I mean, I think Kirk Cousins. I think he shrivels in prime time. We talk about this all the time. But
and
he knows how.
And he's got like debilitating injury.
But he knows how to find. If you have number one receiver, he will throw them the ball, and if you have a good tight end, he will throw them the ball. And just so happens, Drake London and Kyle Pitts have just been missing a quarterback that can throw them the fucking ball.
Yeah, but now the real big problem in Atlanta, and like I don't know if you remember, but last year when we were doing our preview, I was like, Atlanta. Like, I think that they are going to have a decent season. Like, look at their roster. Like, they have this guy, they have this guy, they have this guy. They ran their season really weird, but that doesn't change the fact that I think that they have a lot of really talented guys in their roster. The problem that you have now is the entire national media is talking about it. They're the sexy fucking pick for like, oh, well, Kirk Cousins has.
So
like, exactly.
Why do you think it's a problem for them, but not for Houston? I'm just curious.
Because I think that Houston, the pressure is still off their sophomore QB. It's like they're still in a honeymoon period with him. They're also not paying him Kirk Cousins money, right? So it's the same. Like, Houston to me is closer to Chicago and the stuff we were talking about with Chicago, where it's like, I don't know, CJ, like, you're our guy. Like, we got you long term. We're gonna lock you up in a couple of years. Like, we're gonna make that rookie contract sing, and then we're gonna give you a fucking $200 million. You know, no matter what you do. Like, we're all in on the CJ Stroud Express. Everyone in Houston is all in on the CJ Stroud Express. The national media is looking now at the Falcons and being like, well, you guys should be good. You guys should be good. Like, let's go. Come on, let's see what you got. The Texans, I think they get a grace year. Like, they're 2 years ahead of schedule at this point, right? This year, if Stroud takes a back step, if the offense doesn't gel exactly how you like want him to gel, let's be honest, like, they're probably going to win that division, right? Like, the Texans
100%
still fucking win that division.
I mean, unless Anthony Richardson lights it on fire in Indy, because he's coming back.
Yeah, that could happen. I actually think we should go a little bit more in depth into Indianapolis at some point over the next few weeks.
We're going to because we are the AFC team this year.
Yeah. No, I mean, I actually think Indy are really interesting.
They are.
Like a lot of things that they have going on. Indy are my pick in the same way Atlanta were my pick last year. Indy are my pick. No one's talking about them, but they should be. Last year, no one was talking about Atlanta, but they should have been. Now everyone's talking about Atlanta. Everyone's talking about Atlanta. And I think they maybe get 8 wins. To be totally honest with you, like maybe. Yeah, granted, like they play the Saints twice, right?
Yeah.
That's their division. They play the Saints twice. All right, so there's 2 wins right there. That's great. Good for them. But like, other than that, I don't know. There's a lot of weird shit going on down there in Atlanta. I mean, I don't.
And they play the Panthers twice.
Yeah. Oh God, those poor fuckers.
So there's 4 wins right there.
That division's fucking so bad. 9 wins. 9 wins for Atlanta, and I think that like, and you know, and that'd be good. I think for them. I think. Does it make sense when I say that the mistake that they made was paying Cousins and not drafting Penix? Is that something that computes? I know they had already signed Cousins.
That's
like
why
I get
I'm having
that.
a hard time with it.
But that's the mistake, though. That's the mistake. Does that make sense?
I think an injured Kirk Cousins is such an upgrade over what they had at quarterback the last 3 years there.
$200 million worth of open upgrading, dude. They're going to be paying that guy until like.
Yeah, but unlike
Atlanta's Atlantis, they'll still be fucking paying Kirk Cousins.
But unlike the Bears, all the Bears' money is tied up in their skill position. All the Falcons' money is just tied up in their quarterback position because everyone else is selling their rookie deals. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, all in the rookie deals. So if you can,
funny enough, we're paying fucking Nate Davis a shitload of money at guard, and he can't see the fucking field. But yeah, otherwise, for the most part, yeah.
But if you're going to do it, if you can't draft a quarterback, but you can draft skill positions, and you're still within that first window when you have 3 of them,
and just getting
rookie deals.
I guess I see your logic when going into the idea of signing Kirk Cousins. I just what's the end game? Are you trying to win a Super Bowl? Because then don't sign Kirk Cousins. You know what I mean? Like I just, to me, it's like you're running a business, right? Like essentially these guys are all running 32 separate business entities. The goal of the business, because it is literally the thing that makes your business the most money, is winning, right? That's why the NFL and capitalism have such great parallels, because the NFL runs like people think capitalism runs, but there's too many other outside factors, right? Inside of capitalism, you can manipulate the market, you can do this, you can do that. Because there's only 32 players, and I mean players as in like entities that come to this situation. Yeah. You're trying to win because it's great, you know, you're a success based on that metric, but literally you make more money if you win. More people come to your games, your gate is higher, you get more primetime slots on TV, you get bonuses and payouts when you make it farther in the playoffs, you get TV cuts of more games, or that more eyeballs are on when you're more successful. There's tons of reasons to win, right? So it's unless you're the Cowboys, which I genuinely do believe Jerry Jones is just going to write them off as a tax write-off and then like leave his kids a bunch of money to try and like avoid paying capital gains and estate tax to his I don't know, 50 kids that are spread out around the United States
that we know of.
I hope none of them are black because he doesn't want them to go to school with the white kids. But the fact of the matter is, all 31 other teams, there's a financial incentive to win. Why do you give Kirk Cousins $200 million if you're trying to win?
Well,
why? Based on what?
I think just based on the play that you've had, based on how much money you don't have tied into your skill positions right now. And also, listen, the Falcons have 4 primetime games this year, and 3 of those games they were going to lose anyway. So now they're probably looking at it and saying, okay, we're actually going to have a pretty good year. Kirk Cousins can't win in primetime.
Well, you said it yourself. You said it yourself. You don't want to be that purgatory 8-win team. And the Falcons are building towards that. Don't you think?
Well, I think
they just gave an astronomical rookie contract to a backup QB. I mean, I know I said that part was fine, but like, do you know what I mean? I mean, not astronomical, but you know, it's like you're paying your backup QB an awful lot of money, right? Well, and you handle the PR well. And yeah, your skill positions, you have some like ability to move, and your division's terrible, so there's that. But like, what, you're gonna get 1 playoff game this year, maybe?
I think they're gonna win 10 games this year.
That's just because of the division they're in, though. That doesn't make
well,
good team.
that's why you'll get Kirk Cousins.
10.
Kirk Cousins has been
It's a soft 10.
Lighting up terrible divisions for the last 10 years.
Yeah, you're right. I think we're actually saying the same thing. What you're saying is that I just don't understand why. Because what you're saying is the Atlanta Falcons bought and moved towards becoming the Minnesota Vikings of their division. Why?
Correct.
Why? Why do you want to be the Minnesota Vikings?
Because they were sick and tired of being the Atlanta Falcons of their division.
I know, but at least like a high draft pick, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, the Patriots right now should be gunning for a top 5 pick, right? That's what you're.
Unless you talk to Ray.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just think the way he looks at his sports teams is he's like, be good or don't. You know what I mean? Like, be good or get the fuck out of my face. You know, I think is essentially like his logic, which makes sense, right? I think with Ray, his number one team are the Celtics, right? And I've always had this really in-depth anthropological theory about you guys, about Massachusetts sports fans. I'm a fan of the Celtics. I like when the Red Sox win. I like when the Bruins win. But my top 3 teams, the teams that mean the most to me in the whole wide world, are from 3 completely different places. It's the Celtics, it's the Chicago Bears, and it's Liverpool Football Club. Those are the 3 teams that mean I got Liverpool tattooed on me. I'm up and down for the fucking Celtics every single time, and the Bears are my first love. They're from 3 completely different places in the world because I'm from different places in the world. You guys are from Massachusetts. All your teams are the Massachusetts teams. And it's so strange because all the Massachusetts teams, every single one of them, have had some varying degree of extreme success in our lifetimes, right?
Right.
They've all had some varying degree of it, and it's made you all so fucking weird. Like, you can find the Patriots first people, which I think is the majority of people our age are people who like the Patriots are like the number one. So their standard that was set is the Patriots standard. And those people, I don't know if you're one of them, Mike. I think you might be a pretty reasonable individual. You might not have gotten caught up in this, but those people are going to be the saddest, most miserable people you ever fucking meet because you're asking for your baseline standard to be something that was never done before and will probably never be done again. Like my best friend in the whole wide world, his attitude on the Patriots, diehard Patriots fan. Pat's tattoo on him, fucking, knows the ins and outs of everything. He's like, we did it. I'm good. He's like, I watched the most successful team ever. I never have to see them be good like that ever again. He's reevaluating his standards because he knows that it'll never be that good again. The Celtics people, they almost did the same thing, but it was in the 80s, right? So they all sort of started to die off where it's like, no, you're either doing this at this level or you can get the fuck out of my face, right? And Ray has a little bit of that in him, I think, where he has that thing of like, we're either fucking Larry Bird and Kevin McHale or you can get fucked. I'm never going to support the team like the Oklahoma City Thunder support their team, et cetera, et cetera. If you're a Bruins fan, you're just in a fight outside a bar called Sully's or something. The idea, actually, there is a really nice bar called Sully's right by TD Garden. I love that place. Shout out Sully's. But I was making that joke as like it's probably called that, but then I remembered an actual bar called Sully's. I've drank it a lot, and it's a good bar. I forget what my overall point is. Oh yeah, so like how you guys approach these things is based on what you've seen in the past, right? If I'm a Falcons fan, I'm on your logic train, which is can we just get the guys that are going to win us a fucking Super Bowl? Because all you've seen is in your whole lifetime pretty much is the Atlanta Falcons go to a Super Bowl and blow the biggest lead in the history of the fucking Super Bowl. That's all you've seen, right?
Well,
so
and they got their asses kicked by, was it Green Bay? Oh, no, it was Denver in like 97, right?
Right, the Elway spin
Chris Chandler
into the end zone thing. Yeah, you've maybe seen them lose 2 Super Bowls. More likely, you've seen them lose 1. I mean, if you're really young, you've seen them lose 0 and beaten none. Right. So, is that what you're asking for? You want them to be a 1-win playoff team? Like, I don't get it. I know it's hard. It's easier said than done. I get it, but Kirk Cousins is paying for averageness. It's fucking your way to the middle. It doesn't make any sense to me. Does that make sense at all or no?
He's going into it. I would just like don't. I don't want you to fucking do this. Like, don't make me defend Kirk Cousins in the movie. But
no, I'm not. Well, I'm just saying, like, I'm just wondering the logic.
Who's the best quarterback in that division now?
In the
NFC
South, Kirk Cousins.
Who has the best running back in that division now? Kirk Cousins. Who has the best the best tight end in that division now? Kirk Cousins.
No, but you're doing the world's tallest midget argument. That's the worst division of football.
And they won what, 5-6 games last year?
The Falcons?
I think. Is that right?
No, they won like 9, I think.
No, they had the number 7 pick, didn't they? Yeah. So they were top 10 pick.
Oh wow. I thought they did better. I thought they won 7.
So you don't think that the addition of a quarterback that can actually get the ball to the receiver will win them 3 more games?
Yeah, they won 7 games.
All right, so then they're a 10-win team.
The Bucks won 9, and so did the Saints. The Bucks and the Saints both won 9 games last year. That's how bad that division is. The Bucks and the Saints both won fucking 9 games. Okay, so all right, you've talked me around. So essentially what you're saying is you can't look at it like we need to win, we need to build a Super Bowl winning team. When you're at the point that the Falcons were this time last year, you have to look at it like we need to start to dominate our division. So you're saying that the division is so weak, you need to be the franchise that starts to run that division. Then you can start to look at the AFC. Then you can start to look at the whole wider landscape of winning a world championship, for lack of a better term. I guess I see it. Pussies. Fucking pussies. Lose a bunch of games. Draft Caleb Williams. Fucking ride or die, baby. No, I'm just saying. I spent a lot of years winning 7 to 9 games. A lot of years winning 7 to 9 games. It was miserable. It's fucking miserable. And you said the same thing in the Discord recently. It's fucking miserable.
For the record, we're still like 2 years away from the Patriots winning 7 or 9 games. So it's.
But like you said, that's good.
For that.
Like you said, that's good. I mean, you guys won 4 games last year. Then you drafted Drake May. You know, he's potentially a fucking franchise QB. Potentially. Probably not. Where do you stand on Drake May, by the way? Where I forget what you're, or maybe I never knew. What were you? You wanted that?
He played 7 snaps on the first preseason game. They're burying him in practice. They're not letting him work with any of the ones. Now, if the rationale is that you want to protect the investment and you think he could be that good, he just needs to be developed. So you don't want him to be talked about, want to be an afterthought. Fine, whatever. This season,
yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at the start. Is like just give him a year off,
but at least let him work with the ones in practice. You know, like
no, I'm sure they are.
No. Jacoby Brissett's getting 90% of the snaps with the ones.
Interesting. Because like the thing with Caleb that's been glaring, like you made the astute point of pointing out that they're not going to show anything super negative on Hard Knocks, but you know, I'm on the Reddit, the Bears Reddit, with all the clips of him in OCAs and practice and everything for the whole offseason, and like that defense has been tearing him apart. Like they've absolutely been fucking crushing him. Now, I rationalize it. I think we have a top 10 defense. I mean, we were the number 1 run stopping team last year. I think we've improved in pass coverage. I firmly believe we have the best cornerback in football in Jalen Johnson. I think it's really difficult to play against this Bears defense. I think we're in the trenches, we're weak. Everywhere else, we're good. Maybe one edge rusher would be good, whatever. I think we have great linebacking core and really, really, really good pass coverage. That's good. You want Caleb Williams thrown against that defense. You know what I mean? You want him to come in and be like, damn, it's actually easier in the NFL because like I'm thrown against a good passing coverage team all the time. Keenan Allen's like, I haven't gotten 1 reception against Jalen Johnson all training camp. He's like, I'm Keenan Allen and Jalen Johnson has not let me catch 1 ball. You know, like that's all good news to me. So as far as I'm concerned, you're 100% correct. Like you throw him to the wolves when the stakes are lower. So, because it's not going to get any easier when you're on TV, baby. Like, it's not going to get any easier.
If you're worried about the fact that you can't protect him in practices where they can't tackle the quarterback anymore, that really concerns me.
Tough.
Because that means that he's going to see the field at some point in time this season because every other quarterback in front of him will be on a fucking gurney.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Jacoby Brissett is the archetypal quarterback you want starting for you when you're trying to like wait for a guy to come in and like be good. But you're right. I mean, he's 1 injury away from like that whole plan just going to shit. You know, I mean, Geno Smith was supposed to be that guy, right? And then all of a sudden he has like a great year, and now we may never see him again. So it's like, I don't know what's going to happen. Our teams were actually in really similar places. The Patriots and the Bears were in incredibly similar places 3 years ago when the Justin Fields, Mac Jones draft year happened. And I think it just goes to show how quick things can change in the NFL because you guys are starting over, but I will say, to your point in the Discord, and you've made it somewhat here, and I've backed it up somewhat here, you don't want to be a 7-win team. You don't want to be a 7-win team. You want to be either a 2-win team or a 10-win team.
Yeah.
That's it. I winning 7 games every year it's not fun. But hey, listen, what we've learned here today, the presiding absolute fact that we've learned here today is that if you're worried about getting an hour worth of content out of a podcast, just talk about the NFL because it's always doing something. It's always doing something. I will ask you one last question before we go. What's going on with fucking Hassan Reddick? Like, what's going on over there? Because to me, the Jets are maybe the worst run organization right now, as far as that goes. But do you know anything about this? He
Go ahead.
He got traded to them under some agreement that he would take this contract, but now he's saying he wants to get traded. And then the Jets released a statement saying that they're not going to trade him, which is, it's getting bad if the Jets are like releasing a statement about a player. What's going on over there? Is it similar to the Judon situation? And can you explain to me what's going on with him? And like, why are defensive ends now or outside linebackers now acting like wide receivers?
Well, I think the Judon situation is just a fact that he signed a good deal 3 years ago that is no longer good. And
is he going to go this offseason?
Bill gave him more money last year, but now he does not want to play for $6.5 million. And the problem that if you're a Patriot,
he's still good. Person, like he missed like 11 games last year, right? Like, is he still good? Because the Bears were looking at trading for him because we need a little cover on the other edge. But does he still have that same talent? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Judon's a beast. But is that just name recognition?
He led. I'm pretty sure he still led the team in sacks last year, and he missed 11 games. So I don't know if that's good or bad for the rest of the team. But for like the other 2 years, he has the most sacks in the league through week 10, and then he falls apart at the end of the year. So I think he's still good. I think $6.5 million is a little bit too low. But he's asking for like 12. I wouldn't pay him 12.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to have to play
like a 2-year deal.
I think he's 30. Is he 32? I hate saying that. That's
tough at that. Positions, I know I'm fucking turned 34 in July. It's depressing, but it's at positions that require that level of athleticism, skill positions, and on the defensive end, essentially defensive skill positions, right? Pass rushing.
Right.
I mean, safeties, like I'd be really nervous about a 34-year-old safety unless he was like really like a field general. You know what I mean? Like linebackers, depends. Like if your neck holds up, if your back holds up, you might be all right. You can still stop the run. Like it's different wherever you are. But I mean, fuck it. Like Khalil Mack's still playing. You know what I mean? It's like you never know. But it's corners. You lose a step. It's a real thing. So you're right. I mean, I think the team is right to just take pause. Hassan Reddick, I mean, that guy's still a beast. I don't know what the fuck is going on over there. I mean, the Jets apparently don't want to pay him. I get not paying an edge rusher when you're, I don't know, probably a year away. I mean, I don't know how Rodgers is going to look this year.
They can't be like they have to do it this year. This is it.
Well, then pay him.
Right. You have to pay him. Like, you should sell the fuck out this year.
I mean, honestly, they should, because that defense didn't look terrible at times. They did not look terrible at times. They looked pretty legit at times. And like there was times with that Jets team where you're like, if Rodgers was healthy all year, like there was a lot of that going on. So I'm not really sure what's going on, but I think the problem is that they basically had an agreement and he seems to be going back on them. Miscommunication, maybe. I don't know. But that's the drama. That's the drama coming out of all these off seasons. I'm going to go watch Hard Knocks right now because it's on. And this is fun. I mean, it's nice to still be able to talk about the NFL even in the offseason. Listen up for our upcoming probably overall NFL power ranking preview in the next few weeks. We'll definitely be doing a AFC NFC prediction game in the next few weeks. We'll probably throw a basketball preview in there somewhere. There's definitely some gold to be mined with, where do the Celtics go from here, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, I mean, come to Missing the Point for all your football, basketball, hockey, baseball, all your sports needs. We're here for you. This has been DK Sizzle, Mike Marcangelo, and this has been Missing the Point.